Hello and welcome to the Platform and Core Development Update. Today we are here with the Core and Platform teams to give you some idea what happened in the past 2 weeks, share the achievements and share the progress we had. My name is Balázs and I'm here with 4 teams today, and we are planning this session for 1 hour. We will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to raise your questions, give us some feedback in the live chat below. So without further ado, let's start with a quick summary. Sam?
Yep. We had different people working on different things, but they followed kind of what people had been working on in the previous sprint. So on versioning, we had me, Ivan, Igor, and Anton. Anton was there to help us fix some tests in DPP. Igor has been working on what's needed for getting the JavaScript SDK version working after versioning. Ivan has been working mostly on validation, things that were missing, not so much the versioning part, but more like just things that we missed, but put in the versioning umbrella. And I was working on versioning heavily. Wisdom has been working on StateSync and GroveDB still. Lukash, Evgeny, and Javid have been working on the Rust SDK, but I do believe that Javid was mostly on vacation this sprint. And Anton was worked a little bit on Masternode voting as well. So without further ado, let us go in to the first part, which I think is on the Rust SDK and Lukash, correct?
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
So basically, the Rust SDK is quite complex structure. Right now, we are working on 4 parts of it. First one is the Drive Slide client proof verification. This is where we are just making it much easier to verify proofs on all layers. So proofs generated by TenderDash with digital signatures and proofs generated by GroveDB. We make that API as easy to use as possible, and I basically see it to be finished in the next few days. As it's quite complex task using multiple components, so we had to get help from people like Sam for example to go with it, but yeah, we are at a good place right now. And in terms of bindings for Drive Slide client, we have some library developed right now that will generate bindings. Technically, we will be able to annotate some data structures that will then be generated into C bindings. And this is in progress in terms of the library is there for the review and for first testing, but we still need to use that library. And the third thing is improvement in gRPC API server in terms of testing all endpoints that we have there and correcting error handling and other minor tasks. That's what Javid was on, but yeah, as Sam already mentioned, he was offline for the majority of the sprint. And that's pretty much it. And Evgeny, do you want to add something about your DAPI client?
Hi there. Yes. So according to the schema, right, as you can see, DAPI client is like a transport layer of the whole SDK that will so that will actually perform requests to DAPI servers. So we can use it as client library to do requests to platforms or And each of these requests should be performed in a unified form. So the purpose of the library is user experience also. And current state is that library works on a static list of nodes, as it's set during client initialization and for platform types of requests. So no core yet. So what's left? Core transport layer, but it should be a plug and play because it uses a slightly different technology than platform, but still easily achievable, as we estimate. Also, right now it means dynamic list of master nodes. It's only static right now, so it requires integration of another library that's outside of Rust SDK, and we lack of proper automated test for right now. It works, and we verify it works, only checking it manually. So we also need to set up a testing infrastructure for CI. So yeah, it's in progress now, but could be used some of the steps.
Thank you very much. So let's go with some other task. Anton, would you kick us off?
Yep. Hey everybody, Anton's here. So my work this sprint was separated mostly in 3 categories. One was to help the guys with the versioning, and that was about porting the tests from the old implementation of DPP to a new one, which I done previous week, and I think maybe we'll touch it in a bit more detail a bit later. And the second part was about porting master node voting into the versioning branch. So what does it mean? After I've done some work and wrote some tests for the master node voting, I've discovered that I need to do quite a lot of I need to resolve conflicts and redo a lot of stuff, because now a lot of stuff in the versioning branch works quite a lot differently compared to how it was working when I started. I forked off a branch that didn't contain anything about versioning just yet, so I had to throw my old work out and re-implement this again into versioning, because it changed quite a lot and it just didn't make sense. Well, I wouldn't say that I had to throw it out, more like adapt the old logic I've done to completely new structure of DPP. And that would be this task. I think the next task is Dimas, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, hello. I'm Dmitry. Well, yeah, on the sprint, I worked on, first of all, I worked on IBC investigation. IBC is inter-blockchain communication. Well, actually, it's a protocol to handle authentication and transport of data between 2 blockchains. This protocol was defined or created by mainly by Cosmos community and currently used across many different blockchains to connect each other. Well, and so I've done with this first, I would say, high-level design of or description of this feature, because we need to find out the best approach which we can use the implementation of this integration. So this, I would say, this is the first part of our before some work which we need to do before when we start implementation of this feature. So Along with this, I worked on finalization, several PRs, which I created probably a month ago before my vacation. Well, the first one is implementation of state synchronization for the new approach. Well, state sync is a way how to fast replicated data between nodes and within Tendermint network. Well, yeah, currently we already have a workable implementation which we can use with our platform, but also we defined some improvements, and this is the first part of our improvements. So we're done with this, review it, and finally merge it in our current branch, which is we 13. So along with this, I worked on a couple of more kind of technical PRs, which is related to update Go module. It's this modification affects the whole project, but actually it's very minor thing. Well, and the second one as well is more technical. So we just defined the one component which we can use across whole application instead of creating every time new code base. So, well, I'm done. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
Thanks, Timo.
Let's go with Ivan next.
Yeah, I'm
Please
next.
continue. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So this sprint, I was helping with the versioning as well, and some work related to this task. My first part of my work was related to data contract validation versioning, but during this work, we realized that the validation, data contract schema validation done improperly. So it's actually doesn't validate the data contract schema against the meta schema. Is basically the rules how the schema of your contract should be created, the format of it. Validation for validation, basically.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Ivan, that had nothing to do with versioning, correct?
Yeah, I mean, this work started from the initial task was to version the validation, right? But during this work, we realized that the validation itself has problems, and we decided to refactor validation and then implement versioning for it. That's what we did, basically. Yeah, and so in the old approach where we have the special JSON with all documents inside, and the way how this schema was used in Rust DPP was incorrect as well. It didn't work with the sub-schema referencing, when you can create the reference to other parts of the schema. So like reuse the sub-schemas, this $ref keyword, and many other issues. And so we decided to refactor it. And during the refactoring, we changed the approach. So previously you could create the structure, and then you need to call the validate function, validate method, and get the validation result. But it's not actually the Rust way of doing things, because you basically shouldn't allow to create the structure if you create this with invalid input. That's what we did, and now we keep all the parts of the contract consistent. So if you change one part, this change reflects other part of the contract. So we cannot like create invalid, broken state of the contract right now. That was the issue before. And also we updated the way how we validate documents, because previously we always asked data contract from schema, create validator, compile schema, which takes time, and then validate document. And we did it every time when we validate the document. So basically, we compile the JSON schema all the time, every validation. And now we moved the validator inside document type. So document type is it stores, it keeps the document schema, and it basically responsible for document validation because it owns the information about the document schema. And the validator is lazy initializing there when we need it. I also, during this work, I noticed more issues. And for example, we are allowed to define the mutability settings and history for data contract and documents. So you can say this contract should you should keep all the histories of all the versions of the data contract in the state, and you can query previous versions. And the same for documents. So we have revisions, and you can get the history of changes for this document. And there is a special option in document schema, keeps history true, and then you can store the system will store the previous revisions for you. And this part was implemented in code, but the validation logic basically didn't know about these fields. That's what I fixed. But we didn't merge this PR because it's not ready. And I mean, it was a kind of blocker because we wanted to proceed with other changes on top of versioning. And so we merged all the versioning branch into the V25 nightly. So, and this one currently postponed this task. I switched into the WASM DPP in updating WASM DPP to reflect all the changes what we did in versioning PR in DPP. And we're working on this with Igor right now. So yeah, another task which is in progress as well, it's postponed right now as well. It's basically in the way how we validate documents with document types when we're using the lazy loading validator for JSON schemas, just to leverage this approach for the state transitions, for documents batch transitions as well. The logic is done there, but we decided with Sam to change it a little bit. So this one in progress as well.
Thank you.
I hope you understood what I'm talking about. It's a little bit confusing for myself as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan.
Wisdom,
Hey guys.
would you go next, please?
Yeah. My name is Wisdom from the GraphDB team, and I have been working on state sync. So as at the last time, we needed to introduce height proofs into what was generated by Merck in order for the restorer to set up some what I would call verification parameters to be able to verify like the different chunks. So this was done. We introduced the height proof during chunk production from Merck, and then also adjusted the Merck restoration logic to make use of this. Then went to the GraphDB side and also updated the chunk production for GraphDB using this height proofs. And then while working on the restoration logic to make use of the height proofs, I noticed a problem with the height proofs. So the height proofs, basically right now the way it's done is we prove the left side of the tree. So we just prove the left portion depth first, and then that's the height we get from that doesn't represent the true height of the Merck tree. So you can represent the true height, or you can represent the true height minus 1. And the way restoration worked is it needed to be very, very precise. And the only way to do that is to make the height prove any arbitrary path in the tree, but it must choose the deepest part of the tree. And there was no good way to do that without changing how we do our node hashing for the trees, and that's going to affect a lot of the current GraphDB logic. So we spoke today with Sam, and then we were able to figure out like an alternative solution whereby we change the chunk ordering. So right now, your chunk ordering is sequential. So chunk 0, chunk 1, chunk 2, up to chunk n, and deterministic, and we know that, but it's too dependent on the correct value of the height. So now we are doing the chunk ordering breadth first. So the chunk is determined by the path from the root. So the chunk number is basically determined by the path from the root. So how do you get to the chunk head from the root? So are you going left, 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 right, right, left? And then you can essentially see this as a binary number. So left could be 0, right could be 1. And so every chunk can be represented as a binary string, which can be represented as a number. So we still have chunk numbers, but it's just not sequential per se. So this is what I've been working on throughout the day. So I'm already making good progress with this. I've not seen any problems with this so far. So once this is done, I will now go back to the chunk restoration on the GraphDB end to make use of this logic. And hopefully everything works out well, and then it should be done. So that's the update on StateSync.
Thanks, Wisdom.
Thanks, Wisdom.
Yeah, so I'll give a quick update on versioning. All the tests were passing, and it was merged in. Yay! So versioning part was done. You know, there's been a little bit of confusion when people are talking a little bit about tasks about validation that have, in my opinion, nothing to do with versioning. It's more that that validation wasn't working in the versioning branch, but it also wasn't working in the V25 branch or in any Rust branch that had existed before. It's just that it was fixed in the versioning branch, but it has very little to do with versioning. Yeah, so we merged in versioning as all of versioning is done in Rust. And that's really, you know, quite an achievement, and I'm really happy about it. Finally, it was 110,000 lines of code in the end, but that is done. So I made the decision to merge it in when all the Rust side was passing. So all the backend side is passing, all the server side, all the node side. What isn't currently working is the JavaScript SDK that doesn't work on all the new abilities. Like, it's not new abilities. It's like a lot of parts of the code were changed, and they just need to be updated. So Igor and Ivan are working on the JS SDK, and once it's finished and once we have it up to date, we will be able to push V25 to testnet. Right now, we could push V25 to testnet, but the problem is that there's no SDK that could actually use it. So yeah, that's not good. I mean, it would work on the server, blocks would be produced, but no state transitions would be pushed in until the SDK actually is fixed. Yeah, so basically I finished that, and then I moved on to data contract bounds, which was the next thing that I needed to do. I dusted off the code that I had written a very, very long time ago. And I started like rewriting it in versioning methods. Got most stuff done. So basically, I got the data contract bounds working, and then I realized, okay, well, they're not validating completely. I mean, there are ways that you could bypass the validation. So I started today working on the validation of the data contract bounds. Basically, what it is the data contract itself can tell that it has a special space on each identity. And in this case specifically, for example, the DashPay contract can say that contact requests use an encryption and decryption key for that table per identity. This allows identities to create keys specific to a specific data contract as to not share encryption and decryption keys between different applications, which could cause security vulnerabilities. So the storage of keys, so the storage of keys is done within the contract bounds. I did the estimation costs. I verified the check TX and deliver TX were working. Then I'm almost done with the validation. I think that it's a question of an hour left of work. And then I need to work on updating the specialized queries for keys. So basically right now you have key queries that you can send to the system for like get identity with these keys. So we just need, we have that query actually already existing, but it needs to be slightly changed to the right query, to the right path query on disk for these specialized encryption and decryption keys associated to contracts. Small amount of work, but yeah. Contract bounds, I must say I started working on about yesterday or the day before, maybe 2 days ago. So it's not as if I've been working on this for a very long time. It's not a big amount of work, and I hope to be done tomorrow or the day after at the worst. Okay, let's move on. So yeah, we get back to this slide. What's left to do for beta 2? Versioning is for all intents purposes done, except some parts of SDK, but the backend is all done. Core block reward processing, that's been done for a long time. Data contract bounds, yeah, I'm finishing. Finalization of withdrawals that will happen after testnet. Masternode voting in progress. I didn't update this. Anton, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's pretty close to be done. In a lot of like in the previous week, I spent quite a lot of time doing things unrelated to it, really. See, I've ported the tests in the versioning branch, then I've ported Masternode voting to new code. Then I had to do some like infrastructure stuff, so I actually didn't work all that much on it previous sprint, but hopefully it's gonna be merged like really, really soon.
Yeah, so you see like a pull request coming for this in the next day or two?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So that will be done. I mean, for Anton's benefit, it was very hard to do until we merged in versioning. The reason why we merged in versioning before having the SDK part completely flushed out is because once that was merged in, we can merge in data contract bounds, or we can finish data contract bounds. We can merge in masternode voting, and we can get, sorry, all the rest of the parts kind of done. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Thanks. We'll
Thank
take
you very much.
in. Yep.
And from the core team, Pasta.
So this week that'll just be me. Odie was not able to join us today. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So quick update on Evo nodes. We're up to 66 Evo nodes as of this morning. Continual I guess progress or continual increasing there. I think it was something like 53 last time we did this update. Major things to note is that basically everything now is in review for major V20 development work or done. The only thing that is not either in review or done is Guix, which you could argue is done, but we need to do some additional validation of it and ensure that it actually works. EHF as well as integration of Sentinel into Core in this last period of 2 weeks went from in progress to in review. Odie was working on integration of Sentinel into Core. So the plan for V20 is to completely get rid of Sentinel. Originally, I thought this might not happen in V20 and it might end up happening in V21, but it seems very likely that this will get merged into V20. And for V20, it seems likely that you will not need to update Sentinel or anything. All of the functionality of Sentinel will just be inside of Core now. Additionally, enhanced hard fork implementation has already been reviewed by a couple other developers. I just have to review it and make sure I don't see any issues with it. I think there is one small change that needs to be done, but it is pretty close to being merged, and V20 is basically ready to get deployed onto testnets and devnets as soon as V25 of platform is ready for us. You can also see at the bottom of the page there the list of merged PRs in this last week or this last 2 weeks. And I think that's about all that I wanted to touch on. We can move on to questions, Balazs.
All right. Thank you very
Sentinel
much.
being done is great.
Yes, Odie did some good work on that, and
I'm
it's
super
still in
happy
review,
about that.
so we need to make sure that everything is done properly with it, but it looks very likely that that'll be done for V20.
Oh, awesome.
All right, so I'm going to go through the questions as they arrive. So if I skip one, chronologically, if I skip one, let me know, please. You will know if I skip it because I know chronologically. It can be because it doesn't show up some comments from me for some reason. Anyway, so the first question is Rust SDK and JS SDK a blocker at the moment? Sam, would you?
Yes, they are blockers. They're blockers for different things. We need the JS SDK to get to testnet because we need a SDK for to push state transitions to actually use it. We need something to be able to do that. I mean, if we just had the Rust SDK, I would probably go with that. But the JS SDK is the one that we've traditionally used, and it's also the one that that the incubator is using. So yes, it is a blocker. The Rust SDK, though, not so much a blocker for testnet, but it is a blocker for mainnet. It's a blocker for mainnet because we need the mobile apps to use platform. But from what I've heard today, the Rust SDK is actually pretty well underway, so not too concerned.
Thank you very much. There is testnet broken on Dash Wallet's iOS for several weeks. Is there an estimate when it could be fixed? It's very useful for developers when testing masternode/collateral stuff.
Testnet is broken on Dash Wallet iOS. Did not know that. Brian, if you're listening, get to it.
Yeah, we were responded in Discord as well. What is the progress with the state sync? So we gave an update, but maybe if we can give an overall update, what exactly parts is being done and what's left for it? So
Cool. Yeah.
either Sam or Dima to give us an overview.
Yeah, so the bigger so there wasn't a lot of work done on state sync in this sprint except work on GroveDB from Wisdom. That's because the part in platform is pretty much ready. Well, ready in the sense that ready to be tested with GroveDB working. So we just basically need GroveDB to be finished for that section, and then we can test out state sync there. So.
All right, thank you very much. Could you tell us the state of DashPay mobile application? Most people are not happy with the way the mobile wallet team DCG operates these days. There is no public work plan, no sprints, no quality releases. I really don't want this style of development to spread to DashPay. It is clear that this is not your zone of frankness, but what you personally think about this, and that you will prompt the community to do everything possible to change the current situation. So Brian replied to these comments, so I will not address these further, but some parts of this comment is not representing the reality, which they are working with a work plan with sprints, and they are trying to release month or beam or every second month.
Yeah, and the mobile team has released a lot of things. We have to remember that, like, you know, CrowdNode integration was released. There have been a lot of successes there, so it's not as if it's a pariah team. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So as I can see, Brian is commenting on this. If you have still further questions, let us know.
Yeah, I would say that the thing that we need the most, in my opinion, is more manpower. We do definitely have a problem with capacity in many teams.
Yeah. So maybe we can say that, like, we have two developers each platform. So it's not ideal. So Brian thank you.
Yes.
Wouldn't want to make such video of this is specifically for Brian, so I let Brian answer that. What's left for the V25-SDK? Is it the goal for the next sprint?
So it's the goal for some people. It's the goal for Ivan and Igor to work on the SDK, and we got some estimates. I'm not giving out the estimates because they're a little bit, you know, I've been a little bit burned in the past, but we do have estimates that they'll finish that, and again, it's really hard to put everybody on the team in one place without people stepping on each other's toes. I'm
But
going to
that-
finish. Mhm.
Sorry.
I'll be finishing contract bounds. I'll be reviewing the entire code base, and then I'll start helping with the Rust SDK, because I'm not very good with JavaScript and WASM. I know my limits. In the meantime, Ivan and Igor will be working on
And Anton.
and
Yes.
Anton.
Yes.
3 of them will be working on finishing the JavaScript SDK. As soon as we have the JavaScript SDK, we can go.
Sorry, Anton.
So yeah, what I would like to highlight is that though, as you know, usual, sprint goals are not like everybody's working on it. We treat it as a priority. So if anyone from this group needs some help, we prioritize to give them help and to help them to unblock them as soon as possible. So in this sense, yes, this is a major goal for the sprint.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions?
Brian is answering to most of the questions that are directed to him and to the mobile team.
Mm-hmm.
Are you? Can we keep the roadmap updated more often? Maybe consider something like once a month updates, and that is referring to the platform roadmap. So previously, we answered this question that the public estimation we put on the website takes, so it takes a lot of effort from syncing up the dependencies and getting proper estimates, and it involves a lot of debate. That's why we updated like quarterly previously. Of course, this is something that we can reconsider, though giving or updating the roadmap will not increase the accuracy of the estimates. There are other things that we are certainly doing to increase those. What I can say is that we can reconsider the free update frequency. Sam, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, something similar. I also sometimes personally, you know, when I see, oh, we have 3 days left in the sprint and I want to get as much done as possible, because in the end, that's really what I believe people want. They don't, I believe many people don't want better estimates. They just want it done and pushed out and see heavy amounts of progress. So yeah, spending a day or two on, you know, getting estimates from people on different parts of what's left, going through everything, or writing that more code in those 2 days. It's a hard balance. I often, I personally just really want to deliver at this point. So it's not easy.
All right, thank you very much. So Quizzy reminded me that I might skip his question. I see only one from Quizzy. Maybe this is what he refers. This would also allow DCG to release DashPay wallet a lot earlier than currently scheduled. I guess the context here is the Rust SDK, but I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, we're doing everything we can to release as quick as possible. If there was a magic shortcut, trust me, I'd take it. I don't know what that magic shortcut is.
All right, if we don't understand, if we didn't catch your question, let us know, please, Quizzy. Thank you very much. Okay. There are some comments that if we update the roadmap, also give the last updated information. Yeah, that is something we can consider. Thank you. Yeah, this would also allow DCG to release the Dashpay wallet a lot earlier than currently scheduled. Yeah, never mind. What is the Quizzy? Can you help us? What is your question? I really would like to answer it. I just don't understand. This would also allow DCG to release the Dashpay wallet a lot earlier than currently scheduled. Oh, so Sanmik asked Quizzy, is this about mainnet DAPI proposal? So I guess the question is mainnet DAPI proposal would also allow DCG to release the Dashpay wallets a lot earlier than currently scheduled?
Mainnet DAPI proposal. Oh, that one where somebody wanted us to release DAPI in advance of releasing platform. No, maybe the meaning of whoever made that proposal is good at heart, but the person who, yeah, I think I understand. So DAPI has two endpoints. One is for core and one is for platform, right? So you can also use DAPI to ask for core information, a little bit like I think Electrum. That information has
like
no,
inside.
Yeah, like Insight. That information has no proofs. So you're asking DAPI for that information, but DAPI can lie. All the information that DAPI provides through platform, on the other hand, is with proofs, with platform proofs. So yeah, maybe there is some value there to be able to ask some insight-based information from DAPI, but the amount of effort to release it in advance is very high, and it would not have the functionality needed for Dashpay wallet. Dashpay wallet uses the platform-based APIs of DAPI. Is this correct, Ivan? Do you agree with my assessment?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. I need someone dedicated to these questions. Who will have a table with these questions and trying to figure out where.
You should put the youngest. Pasta.
Hilar, I lost it. Being burned in the past with estimates should mean that we get better at estimates, not to quit altogether. Yes, exactly. I mean, you can do, so having wrong estimates is the symptom here, right? So what we are focusing on is to, what we can focus on is the content, like working on small items, integrating more often, have redundancies in the team. So if someone is going for a vacation, not, don't be blocked by such person, don't have boss factors or exposing our work more often or working on more robust code. So these are pair programming a lot, limiting the handoffs. These are the items that we are currently working on to have better estimates, but that is something that is, we don't see the immediate effects. And also there are some items that we cannot work on without more resources or reducing the scope of our work, which we cannot do at the moment. I mean, neither we can do at the moment. But yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, what was said in that question, I must say that I don't like taking other people's estimates and then repeating them, and I really don't like doing this anymore. And actually, it's not even other people's fault. I can't blame this on people. Often we get into a session where we try to estimate on how long something's going to take, and developers in question don't know how long it's going to take. This has happened a few times, and we try to plug in the gaps of knowledge to be able to make an estimation for them, and it's not gone very well in the past. I'm not sure exactly how to best deal with this. If you have enough money and you have enough capital, generally what you can do is you put teams on a task, and you have enough redundancy. So if somebody stalls, somebody else will be able to take up the slack, and like the team together will succeed, right? Since we don't have that redundancy currently in our teams, we're often using like one person on a part, and if they stall, well, the amount of time vastly increase until somebody from another team or I can come in and help them. So we're going to talk about this as a team tomorrow, and how we can better give better estimates in the future, or how we can proceed to give better estimates. I think though that like me giving estimates for other people is not the right way to go though anymore.
I mean, it's not who says it. It's what the current environment right now is in the current circumstances, which is, all the constraints we have.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're getting back to the questions. So I would like to leave with that. Yes, we should get better with the estimates, and by doing the underlying and addressing the underlying problems that we have. Some of them we can do some things about it, and some of them we cannot without serious trade-offs. Let's just put it this way. Okay, let's go back. there is a proposal for enabling DAPI on the mainnet with platform queries disabled. Would be good to know what core team thinks about it.
It's very little, like, you can
And,
do.
and it's, I'm sorry, just let me read this as well. Please take a look at quizzy question, which I don't see. There were a discussion with some team members about theoretical enabling DAPI for Evo nodes in the mainnet. Is it possible already? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, any Evo node could launch it right now. Nothing's stopping them, but there's also no way to force them. They're not going to get any benefit to doing so. So, you know, if anybody has an Evo node and they want to launch DAPI with just core requests, go ahead.
I don't think it's secure.
It's not
at this
secure.
moment. I mean, yeah, I mean, then you're potentially open vulnerability for your master node. The API is not ready. It's not production ready.
Well, just for the core requests, are there any?
Yeah, I mean, because you potentially can spam the system and like overflow the core RPC queue and things like this. I mean, we didn't test it. I mean, against some like attack vectors, the DAPI.
But
so
is there,
technically, it's.
I don't know if we'll ever have core working properly for those attack vectors. I know platform ones we will, but
No, DAPI is supposed to protect it. I mean, we have a rate limiter in Envoy proxy server on top of DAPI and things like this. But what I'm trying to say that DAPI is not production ready, and if you set up it on your master node, you're doing like you're taking the risks.
there you
That's
go,
what I'm
guys.
saying.
It's not production ready.
All right, thank you very much. If there is no proofs for L1 queries now, does they will appear after the platform release?
No, there will never.
Sam, I think you should explain that. I mean, the data what we're responding with in DAPI for core, we don't have like the Merkle path, like the proofs in the way how we have it for platform. But this data, you can prove it by yourself. I mean, cryptographically. Just for example, if you're fetching the blocks, you can like get the blocks from the DAPI, then you get transaction, you can get SML, and you can verify everything is the blocks cryptographically. So potentially using properly data from the DAPI, you can cryptographically prove it. So the blocks, the headers are there, transactions there, SML is there, instant logs as well. So technically, you can verify everything.
Oh, it's basically just over HTTP instead of over
P2P. Yeah. Yeah. It's for the platform SDK, because platform SDK is supposed to work in the browser, so we can't use P2P protocol, and we use the HTTP, but you can get the same data. Not probably everything, but we already right now fetching the headers, we're fetching transactions, instant logs, and we verify some of the data in not everything, but we verify some of the data in JavaScript SDK. So technically, you have proofs for core data, DAPI.
Right, you have proofs, but you have to reconstruct them yourself. I mean, there's not a big advantage over P2P unless you're in the browser.
Are there any proofs when people use someone else Insight server?
No, you trust Insight.
Or again, you verify by yourself. So you need to download all headers.
No,
From
you don't, you
inside.
can't, Insight doesn't allow you to download all headers.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry. Yeah, then you should trust it.
All right, thank you very much. So if I missed a question, please state it again or ask again in the chat below. What we currently facing is that I don't see some of the questions, though we have a filter that I can see not only the top messages, but all the messages. And it says to me, I can see potential spams as well. Okay, I choose that filter on not filtering any message. And still, I don't see some of the questions. So sorry if I missed some of the questions, and I really do. Would you please raise your questions or ask it on Discord? And I will do my best to get an answer for you. All right. Thank you very much. I guess we got to the end. This is, yes, it is not ideal that I guess YouTube is filtering out some of the messages.
What type of messages does it filter out?
I don't know. I don't know. One's from Quizzy, and he says that we are not seeing his questions, and I swear I do want to see that question, and I do want to answer it. So we will do our best to get back to you on Discord, and sorry for the inconvenience.
The Quizzy filter is working properly.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining today's video. I do appreciate the questions, and I hope we see each other in 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys. See ya.
Bye. And I need to find the stream and